Good evening. Welcome to the Leader's Edge. And tonight, we continue on with transitioning to the new normal through digital transformation. As you know, in part one, we had Arthur Luis P. Florentin, or known as ED Art, who is the executive director for of the Civil Service Institute, who after 31 years of service, after he retired from Meralco as vice president and head of HR and being the executive director of Meralco Management and Leadership Development Center, he also served for 1 year as general manager of Waters Philippines and for 2 years as a managing partner of the Center of Innovation, Change, and Productivity. And so we continue on with part two of his interview. EDR?
Now, at this point, I'd like to mention the 6 Ds of digital transformation. Actually, as you have seen earlier, we have been increasing the number of our courses and number of participants every year. No, but what we really wanted was uh, an exponential growth, much more than how we have been increasing. And even as early as 2 years ago, we started looking into digital applications like webinars and micro learnings. But according to 6 Ds of digital transformation, when you introduce digital applications, the second stage is deceptive stage, because this deceptive stage uh, makes us feel that as if it's not working. We wanted to make use of digital applications so that we can implement more programs. We can be more effective in what we're doing. But sometimes, because this is a new technology, we feel that we're not that expert yet in the technology, or it might be expensive. No, we might need to spend so much. No, and therefore there are certain things, certain factors that are hindering us and preventing us from really expanding to digital applications. Now, when COVID-19 pandemic came in, there was a disruption. Before, we were holding on to face-to-face classroom training. Even if we wanted to shift to digital online learning, we kept on holding to face-to-face classroom training. Why? Because we were so used to it. It's our comfort zone, and you know we um, we stayed with face-to-face classroom. But because of the disruption of COVID-19, we have to let go of face-to-face classroom. We were forced to. And because we were forced to, we started using more and more webinars. And we realized that as we use more and more webinars, there are so many things that we can reduce cost. Like for example, now that we're doing online learning, we don't have to spend on meals,
Yes.
and we don't have to spend on printed materials. So they're all soft copies now. So we have less cost, and also we now realize that we need to use less material things, physical objects. But what we would like to really um, achieve is to be able to democratize our service. By democratizing, meaning that we will be able to expand our reach, provide more learning and development interventions to more government employees at a much lesser cost. For me, democratization can be represented by 3 Cs. The first C is convenience. We don't have to travel now to attend learning and development, and we realize that whenever now we start a webinar, put it up for registration. So many um, government employees immediately apply or register. You know why? Because they don't have to think twice about um, uh, traveling or accommodation, because they can now take the courses wherever they are. And in fact, uh, the percentage of our participants are 40% from Metro Manila and 60% all over the nation,
And
from
so
from from
to me,
Baguio to Davao.
yeah, to me, the art that sounds like the real issues then become more about stable internet connections,
Yeah,
finding the hours where the internet is not as congested as, say, in the late afternoon or in the evening where everybody's on Netflix and therefore everything slows to a crawl. That those are amazing observations that you've shared, and it's benefiting the civil service because of the enormous savings in time, in cost, in travel. Do tell us more.
yeah. So I mentioned three C's. The first one is convenience. The
Mm-mm,
second one is cost, as I mentioned earlier, because we don't have to spend on meals, on printed materials,
mm-mm,
and our participants don't have to travel. And the
mm-mm.
third is coverage,
Oh,
because before we were limited by physical space, the venue.
yes.
Uh, well, for every batch, we're only handling 30 to 50 participants per batch.
Mm-mm.
But now we're handling around 100 to 300 participants per batch.
Okay.
So the coverage also increased, and for us, that's the biggest benefit, because now we can reach out to more government employees.
It sounds an awful lot like being able to make lemonade out of a lemon. So, that's wonderful.
Okay, so but to be able to transition to digital online learning, we also need to look into our processes.
Mm,
And for us, our massive transformative purpose is to shape the servant hero towards public service excellence. We consider that providing learning and development interventions is a way towards shaping servant heroes. No, not just
mm,
compliant public servants, but servant heroes, because they should be there to provide public service excellence. And before, our way is through classroom competency-based um, training. And given that, our value proposition, as I mentioned earlier, is to help our agency participants align to CSC directions, to create cultural transformations, and be able to um, avail of learning and development institutions with value. Our customers are the agency HR and the government employees, and we maintain relationships with them because it is a mandate. No, we are mandated to provide learning and development, but they are also mandated to uh, go through training.
mm,
No, but for us, more than the mandate, um, we provide effective interventions, so that they will see that they're there not just to comply, but because they'll be able to really improve performance. So part of maintaining relationship is making sure that our services are effective and relevant to our clients. Our
mm.
channels before is through website, email, meetings, and events. And our revenue streams, we charge training fees. With respect to key activities, our main activities are designing courses,
Mm-hmm.
implementing those courses, and conducting impact evaluation. And with respect to key partners, we consider the HR officers in the different agencies as our partners. And also, many of our subject matter experts, our learning facilitators, are, are partners in the sense that they are not part of CSI, but they regularly provide or conduct training for CSI.
So,
With
so
re-
that's where the accreditation program comes in for the external providers.
that's right. That's right. So that's all. That's also why we accredit learning and development institutions.
Mm.
Now, for key resources, we our course designs, our infrastructure like classroom, and of course our course administrators are our main resources. And for the cost, we pay honoraria, meals, venue, manuals, and kit.
Mm.
No. But this is for classroom competency-based training. Now,
Right.
when we started shifting to online learning, we were initially just thinking that we're we're changing our product. But what really is happening is it's not just changing the product, but it's also changing the whole way that we are doing things. Like for example, we have uh, maintained our purpose, shaping the servant hero towards public service excellence, but we have changed the way we're doing it through competency-based learning on the go. Learning on the go means that our participants should now be able to learn what they need to apply so that they can improve performance without necessarily going through uh, whole training programs, because we are taking a look at different online learning modalities, not only webinars, but also e-learning and micro-learning,
Mm.
where our participants will be able to learn bite-sized learnings, no, immediately improve performance as needed,
Mm.
not because of our schedules, but because of their need to improve performance. That's why we're calling it learning on the go. And because of this, part of our value proposition now is to make sure that we're able to provide highly accessible, convenient, output-based learning modules. And this can be in terms of webinars, e-learning programs, and micro-learning modules.
Mm.
We our customers remain the same, our relationships remain the same, but with respect to channels, aside from the usual, we now included learning management system,
Mm.
because we can now you know keep in touch and communicate with our participants using because of that, aside from training fees can be paid for specific programs, but now we can look into subscriptions, no, to the learning management system, so that our our clients can take advantage of the learning modules in the system um, for a period of time, for example, for a year. Meaning they're no longer just paying for one training program, pay for the access to learning materials for a year, and then they can keep going back. They can learn as much as they can within the year for just a fixed subscription fee.
Mm.
We're
So in
also
other
including
words,
this Revalida.
mm. So in other words,
Yeah.
EDR, you're saying that just because they finished the program doesn't mean that their access to it is coterminous with the graduation. But you're saying that for several more months, or in other words, a year, they can go back and review the material that they went through.
Yeah. Not only go back and review the materials they already took, but they can take new courses
Mm.
for the whole year. So
Wow.
they can learn as much as they can. And then with respect to Revalida, because in online learning, physical attendance is no longer relevant, then
Yeah.
it's the evidence of learning that is more important, and this is Revalida.
Mm.
Now, with respect to key activities, we included module design, because now, rather than implement as many programs as we should, what we can do now is to develop as many modules as we can, which can be accessed by our participants.
Mm.
And also, we need to be able to administer the learning management system. With respect to key partners, with respect to key resources, um, we can have learning pathways, meaning given the learning management system, we can specify certain modules that are appropriate for certain positions and levels.
Mm.
So different employees with different roles, positions, jobs can access different learning materials. And of
That
course,
sounds
part of our resource.
that sounds interesting,
Yes.
the art, because the implication appears to be that a government employee seeking to make, say, a lateral move now has the capacity to study up for it and qualify in case they do want to make, say, a transition to a post that may not necessarily mean vertical movement, but a lateral movement. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. It's possible because they can also now choose what they would like to learn so that they can improve their performance.
Well, that's wonderful. I can imagine some people will no longer think of government service as, say, being in a particular post for the rest of their life, but now could consider broadening their profile, their portfolio in terms of where they served and what they did. Hmm.
And of course, part of our resources, the learning management system, and we also feel that uh, we can make use of different digital applications like
Hmm.
Mentimeters, Padlet, etc. That can help engage participants. With respect to key partners, in addition to that, we now need a system provider and also collecting banks,
Hmm.
because if somebody from, let's say, Mindanao registers, they should now be able to pay virtually also. So we need these key partners. So basically, our cost structure, we will still have honoraria, we will have subscriptions, but other cost structures like meals and printed materials and handouts will no longer be part of our cost.
Yeah, including travel and
Given that,
accommodations. Yeah, wala na.
no, wala na rin.
Oo. Yeah, that's
So given that,
wonderful.
the learning modalities that we are now looking into are webinars, and we have been doing this. We have partnered webinars with group chats because we consider group chats are communities of learners, and
Mm.
it can help supplement the synchronous learning through webinars with asynchronous learning through group chats.
Wonderful. You've just described
But aside
options
from that,
for,
we would like,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm. I was just making an observation that
So what
with
instead what
webinars,
happens
yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
what happens is that instead of taking a whole day course, they
Mhm,
can just take a 2 hour session on webinar, but they're
mhm,
connected through group chats so that after the learning session or the session through the webinar, uh, they can submit their insights, they can submit strategies, or they can submit assignments, no,
mhm.
asynchronously, meaning at their own time.
Right.
But as they
Uh,
submit it through
mhm,
the group chats, they learn from each other because they'll be able to read their submissions. So we're still able to facilitate learning from each other, from the learners.
mhm,
But aside from this webinar and group chats, we also would like to move to e-learning, which should now be self-paced anytime, anywhere. Meaning, this is no longer facilitated as a group, but each individual can go into the learning management system and access modules that they may need to learn and apply.
mhm,
And also, we would like to look into micro learning. The
mhm.
difference here is that micro learning is bite-sized, and usually the duration of micro learning is from 5 minutes to less than an hour. And usually, this is in the form of a video. And this is what we would like now to look more into,
Mm.
because what will happen is that all we need to do is maintain the system, and our participants can just enter the system, access whatever topic they would like to learn from, and then apply what so learning becomes more conducted as needed rather than because we set a certain schedule.
That sounds great. It means that learning itself is scalable. It can be very personal, one-on-one, with the micro learning, or it can be with your peers when it comes to webinars and group chats. It also means that those who are extroverted can be very happy with webinars, and those who are introverted will be quite content with their group chats where they're mostly just writing. So there's something for everyone. That's
That's
that,
right.
that's fantastic.
And we're just discovering this, so we see that we really can go into exponential growth because of our shift to online learning. So
It does
given
seem that,
that,
yeah.
uh, well, given that we have a we're looking into a learning management system,
Mm,
but we would like to uh, couple this with a webinar platform so
mm,
that uh, we can provide synchronous sessions. But as I mentioned, we also want to look into e-learning. So we will have this kind of system. We don't have it yet,
mm.
but we're moving towards acquiring this system so that we'll be able to not only provide learning one at a time, but we can provide a system that does not only provide learning, but can also keep track of the learning progress
Mhm.
of our participants. So we will be able to administer the system, but we can also provide our regional offices with administration privileges so that they can look into how government employees in their respective regions um, want to learn and how they're actually learning. And we can also provide administration privileges to the agency HR so that they can look into their own people in their own agency. So that's how we would like to go through this.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us as we went through Season 3, Episode 2 of Transitioning to the New Normal Through Digital Transformation. Thank you so much, Edie Art or Arthur Florentin, for sharing with us your immense wisdom, your insights into transitioning to the new normal through digital transformation. We do thank you once more from the bottom of our heart for spending your valuable time with us, and would like to invite the audience to tune in to Season 3, Episode 3, featuring Juan M. Roy, who is going to talk to us about developing leaders in the new normal. He is the HROD Consulting Head of Nomura Research Institute in Manila, as well as the Programs Chair of the Philippine Society for Talent Development. So, once more, we'd like to remind everybody that learning is a never ending journey with limitless vistas. Good night.